How you doing, folks? Attitude 2 back for another session. I'm continuing my 100 NL video that I started part 1 on last time. So as usual, I'd recommend watching the first one so you start getting some reads. I say that every time, but as usual, it's important. So I'm just going to dive right in here. We started off, I played a little bit of heads up here on the top right with cash for free. So I have a little bit of a read on some of the guys here, and which lets me, start to formulate my gameplay based on my opponents a little bit more than if I was readless here. I played this session from this point at least a month or two ago, so I don't remember what happened at all, which I always kind of like actually going through the video so that I can sort of reevaluate each of my plays uh, and sort of get a fresh perspective on them at a different point in time. So, like I said, I'm going to let the video go here. And continuing on what we were discussing last time, I want to keep focusing on pot control, which, like I said, is a huge element at the micro stakes and small stakes to just becoming a winning player and reducing your variance and knowing where to pick your spots. I mean, top left here, just a standard 3-bet with pocket kings. But nothing much happening there. But in terms of the pot control discussion, yeah, you need to evolve past just a complete pot control, line in general as you move up to sort of the mid and higher stakes. But at the lower stakes, I think it's important just to, when you're still learning the game, to not get too crazy and out of line and just see bet 100% of the time and just have massive variance where you're betting all the time, because most of the time you're against opponents who aren't going to take advantage of pot control lines. So, and they're very effective against guys who aren't going to take advantage of it, aren't rating you for, they're just playing their two cards. They're not too concerned about what you might have, and they just see a bet and then they look at their hand and see, well, how can I call a bet or not? That's how a lot of opponents, even regulars at these stakes, are going to be responding to your actions. So they won't be interpreting your lines too much and reading your hand too much. They're much more just concerned about their own hand. And if that's the case, then you can take advantage of them by, playing very exploitably, i.e., pot controlling a lot when you have hands that are sort of warrant it. And when I say pot control, I discussed it a fair bit last video, but just to sort of refresh everyone, taking lines where if you have some sort of showdown value, but when you bet, you're not going to really get called by a lot of worse hands. Trying to get the exercising pot control, i.e., manipulating the pot size, keeping it small when you don't have that strong a hand, but you do have some showdown value and are trying to get it to showdown. So that's sort of what we mean by it in a general sense. So here's an example. Top right up here, I raise on the button, standard raise, unopened to me with ace, like a weak offsuit ace. And we get a flop. This is sort of a flop that's debatable whether to bet or check. And when I'm checking, I'm taking a pot control line because I have a little bit of showdown value, right, with my ace high. At the same time, against an opponent like this guy who's basically a nit, at least based on our read so far. We have 20 hands on him. He's playing 15-10, so he's playing very tight. These type of guys, if you have like a really weak hand like ace deuce, I don't really have any chance to improve other than if I hit my ace. And this flop sort of connects with a lot of his calling range. I mean, his calling range, if we think about it, is a lot of pocket pairs, which, pocket deuces through nines will likely fold to a bet against this type of guy. But also a lot of queens, 10 jack, king queen, queen jack type hands. Probably even ace queen. This guy would